Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tipped. My name is Julian, and this is the waiver wire video for week 17 of the fantasy hockey season. Now, this is a special week because it's kind of broken down into 2 weeks due to the all-star break of the NHL. So there's the first part of the week, which is just 3 days, and then we have a big all-star break, and then we have the second part of the week, which just looks a lot more like a standard week. First, I'm going to go through the first week and what you should do to maximize your games, because there's really not a lot of games. And then the second part of the week, I'm going to go through as well, and then go through my standard waiver wire ads. Now, I'm recording this in beautiful Rotorua, New Zealand. Unfortunately, today it is pouring rain, so I'm recording this inside. I would have liked to record this at a nice public park or something like that, but unfortunately that was not possible just because it is absolutely pouring. If you've heard anything about New Zealand lately, if you've heard anything about Auckland and New Zealand, they have been getting just so much rain, so I'm actually kind of lucky that we're not getting that much rain here in Rotorua, but there's not a whole lot to do today anyway, so I'm recording this for you guys, and I hope you enjoy the video. Before we get started though, guys, please leave a like and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and follow me on Patreon if you haven't already. The link is down in the description below. Week 17 is a special one, like I already mentioned, guys. It's got two-part weeks, so the first week, you've got one game on Monday, you got 3 games on Tuesday, and you've got only two on Wednesday, and the rest of the games have absolutely nothing. So if you want to see, there's not a lot of teams that actually play this week. There are only 11 teams that actually play games this week. The Carolina Hurricanes are the only team that plays 2 games in the first part of the week, which is quite nice. So if you could stock up on Carolina Hurricanes players, that is the best strategy to take an early lead this week. The other teams that play games this week are Boston, Buffalo, Columbus, LA, Montreal, Ottawa, St. Louis, Toronto, Washington, and Winnipeg. They each play only 1 game this first part of the week. All other teams, guys, they play absolutely no games at all. For my waiver wire options for this first part of the week, they're all Carolina Hurricanes players because they're going to get 2 games, whereas every other team only plays 1 game. So you're definitely going to take advantage of that. So options are Teuvo Teravainen, who's really heating up right now, guys. He's getting top 6 time. He's getting power play time. He's someone that you definitely want to be adding if he's available in your league. Seth Jarvis, obviously, has been getting top 6 deployment all year. Hasn't been that amazing, but for this week specifically, the 2 games that you're going to get, definitely worth adding him if he's available. Jordan Staal, 8% rostered. He has his up and downs, but definitely, especially if you're in a league that counts faceoffs per points or hits per points, he's going to give you a safe floor over the 2 games that he's going to play for you. And then Stefan Nason, with Patch already out, Nason's back on that top power play unit for Carolina, so that's pretty big and definitely increases his fantasy value. And then finally, Paul Stastny, who's also been getting top 6 time lately. Obviously, hasn't been that amazing. He's definitely getting older, close to the end of his career, but he's getting some good deployment in Carolina, and for 2 games, I definitely don't mind adding him. He definitely put up a point, at least a point on those 2 games. And then defensemen are also options as well. Like, they tend to give you a pretty safe floor with their hits and their blocks. So Brady Shea, Jacob Slavin, and Brett Pesce are all viable options if you want a couple of games this week. Jumping into the second part of the week, the schedule part 2. As you can see on Monday, there are 6 games, Tuesday 6 games, Wednesday 2, Thursday 7, Friday 4, Saturday 14, and Sunday 4. So as you can see, guys, every single night, except for Saturday, is an off night in theory, because every night less than half the teams play in the NHL. So if you look at your schedule, maybe Thursday you'll be full, but I doubt it. You should have room pretty much every single night to add a player other than Saturday. Saturday you're probably pretty full, but other than that, you should have plenty of room to add whoever you want this week. So let's take a look at the teams that have a pretty bad schedule. Those teams are Boston, Buffalo, Carolina, Los Angeles, Ottawa, St. Louis, and Winnipeg, who only play 1 game apiece in this entire week, which is really bad. So hopefully you don't have too many players from those teams. And if you have streamers from those teams, I would suggest dropping those players for players that play a little bit more. Now, there are some teams that have a really great schedule, and by that I mean they play 4 games. Those teams are Anaheim and Seattle. Both those teams play 4 games, none of which are on Saturday, which is really good because you can fit those players in your lineup the entire week, whereas other teams play 4 games as well, but one of those games is on Saturday. Edmonton, Minnesota, the Islanders, the Rangers, Philadelphia, Tampa Bay, and Vancouver. And they're pretty good schedules as well. Just one of the games happens to be on Saturday, so make sure that you can fit them on Saturday. As for options to add this week, the number 1 guy to add on this list is Trevor Zegras, Anaheim Ducks, 70% rostered, and obviously he's been really good lately, guys, and if somehow he is available in your league, you definitely should go out and grab him, because especially for this second half of the week, the Ducks have a really favorable schedule with no games on Saturday, and you should be able to fit him in your lineup both days, which is absolutely fantastic. Then Carter Verhaeghe of the Florida Panthers obviously have been pretty good lately as well, obviously getting top 6 deployment, and he's been absolutely on a tear lately, so definitely someone that I would want on my team if I were you and he was somehow available in my league. Matty Beniers is another guy with the off-night schedule, and obviously he is probably the best player on his team. He's a rookie. He's only going to get better and better every single year, but this year already starting to look pretty freaking good, and he's getting plenty of power play time, and definitely would recommend adding him for this week for sure. Then Andrei Kuzmenko of the Vancouver Canucks seems to be heating up a little bit as well, getting some solid deployment. And this guy, you know, when he's hot, you pick him up. When he's not, you can drop him. But right now, he's definitely quite hot, and I would recommend him on your team. Then Kevin Hayes, 49% rostered, and he's obviously been great the entire year, been putting up some solid stats, and people are finally realizing that. He's up to 49% rostered, and the Flyers have a pretty decent schedule this week as well, so definitely someone that I would recommend to grab for this week, and you'll probably get at least 3 games out of him. If you can't fit him in your lineup on Saturday, that makes sense, but definitely someone that I would want on my team this week for sure. Then I have Andrew Mangiapane of the Calgary Flames, and he is playing a lot better as of late. He's just performing quite well, and as long as he's hot, we know what he can do. We saw last year what he can do for the Flames, so definitely someone that I would want on my team. And Evan Rodriguez of the Colorado Avalanche is someone who is still getting top line deployment with Nathan MacKinnon, top power play deployment for a good time as well. So Rodriguez is definitely someone that I want on my team right now. I know he's on a little bit of a cold streak, but that doesn't matter to me. Anton Lundell of the Florida Panthers, and he's playing with Barkov right now, and as long as he's on that top line deployment, that's absolutely fantastic for him, and he's definitely someone that I want on my team. Victor Olofsson of the Buffalo Sabres is still a third liner, but he's performing quite well right now, and as long as he's hot, definitely don't mind streaming him. Montreal Canadiens, Kirby Dach is another guy who I'm liking right now, not necessarily getting the best deployment in the world, but he's putting up points, and as long as he is, it's nice to see because he's got a lot of potential, and this kid could definitely do some damage. So as long as he's hot, guys, definitely would recommend streaming him. They got JT Compher of the Colorado Avalanche, and he's obviously still getting top 6 deployment as well. He's heating back up, it looks like. I'm not sure how long he's going to keep this deployment. Obviously, there's some injuries in Colorado. When Landeskog comes back, he may not keep top 6 minutes, but right now, he's still getting them. He's doing pretty decently with them, and I would recommend him, especially in deeper leagues. Ellie Tolvanen, same kind of thing. Seattle's got that nice off-night schedule for the second half of the week, and that's why he's a really good streamer, because he's getting top power play time. Plenty of power play time, doing very well on that power play. And third line time isn't too bad either with guys like Yanni Gourde. He seems to be able to be performing here in Seattle, so definitely someone I don't mind grabbing. Anthony Duclair, someone who's 17% rostered, and he's getting closer and closer to coming back from that injury, and he obviously can do some serious damage if he's given the right deployment in Florida, which he should be. Could even get top power play time potentially in Florida. Definitely someone that I would stash if I have room on my IR right now. Then Jack Roslovic, 11% rostered, and he's someone that I also like a lot in Columbus. He's on quite a hot streak right now. He's getting top power play time. And if you're in a deep league and he's available, he's definitely someone that I would snag up. Adam Henrique of the Anaheim Ducks is another guy who's performing really well right now. Getting top 6 times, getting top power play time, and he's someone that when he's hot, he's going to be performing every single night for you. And he's a great streamer for these 4 games that Anaheim has this week. Then I have Daniel Sprong with the Seattle Kraken, who's finally getting a real opportunity here because he's been playing on the 4th line most of the season. And he's been really performing well on that 4th line, which is hard to do because you don't get a lot of ice time playing on the 4th line. But here he is finally getting top line deployment, and he's someone that I'm definitely have my eye on. And for a week that the Seattle Kraken play 4 games, he's a good option. Then Gustav Nyquist of the Columbus Blue Jackets is someone that I do like a lot as well. He's been, not my favorite player in the world, but he's been playing top line times, getting some decent power play time as well, and he's putting up points lately. So if you need someone like that, he's not too bad of an option. Columbus does have a decent schedule this week. Keegan Kolesar of the Vegas Golden Knights is another guy who has been hitting like crazy lately. So if your league counts hits, he's a really good guy to give you a safe floor because right now he is absolutely hitting like a madman, and he's someone that can definitely help you out for your floor, for your fantasy team, or if you're in a Cats league where you need some hits to help you out. And Ryan Strome of the Anaheim Ducks has finally been playing a lot better. I haven't suggested him, I don't think, the entire season on this channel, but finally he's heating up a little bit. He's getting top 6 minutes still, and he's getting some second power play time, and he's someone that definitely, this week specifically, where Anaheim has a favorable schedule, could help you out. And then I have Taylor Raddysh, who seems to have cooled down a little bit lately, but at only 2% rostered, he's getting some solid deployment, second line, top power play time, and he definitely could heat up again with that deployment. I don't think he's too bad of a player. So if you're desperate for someone and you're in a super deep league, he's not a terrible ad in my opinion. Then jumping into defensemen, I have Seth Jones of the Chicago Blackhawks, and he has really heated up lately. He started off the season very slow, but he's been putting up so many points, some nice blocks, peripherals, some decent other peripherals as well. Someone that I don't mind adding to my team if somehow he is still available in your league. Then Torrey Krug, who just came back from injury and in his first game back got a couple of assists. He's someone that is going to get plenty of power play time. Could definitely take advantage of that. Then Eric Gustafsson, who has been dropped a lot in a few leagues, but he's still getting that top power play time in Washington, guys. And in my opinion, that's a very good spot to be in. And he's definitely in a spot to put up some points. And Cam Fowler of the Anaheim Ducks is not someone that I love a lot, but this week specifically, he's got a favorable schedule. And he's someone that has been hot lately. So as long as he is, I don't mind streaming him. As soon as he cools down, drop him. Then Adam Boquist, 6% rostered Columbus Blue Jackets, still getting top power play time in Columbus, and has been putting up some points lately. He's not someone that really does a whole lot else, so you won't get a lot of peripherals, but if you're just looking for points, he's not too bad of an option. Jumping into goalies, we got Phoenix Copley, first of the Los Angeles Kings, and obviously he is a starter in LA, should be owned in a lot more than 54% of leagues. He has been very good, and if you need a goalie, I definitely would suggest Phoenix Copley. And Pavel Francouz of the Colorado Avalanche is not the starter in Colorado, but he's getting a lot more starts as of late. And Colorado obviously is a decent team, and Francouz has been performing very well. So if you need a goalie and he is available in your league, he's not a terrible ad right now, could potentially be getting more games going forward. And Antti Raanta of the Carolina Hurricanes is someone that I'm looking at right now because Anderson just got injured. I'm not sure just yet at the time of the recording the extent of the injury, but Raanta definitely could be the guy getting a lot of starts here. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen of the Buffalo Sabres, 35% rostered, is someone who's been added a lot lately, and there's a reason for that. For one thing, he was my Manscaped must-add last week, but the second thing is that he has been really good. Been winning a lot of games, been starting the majority of the games for Buffalo, so that's definitely something that I like seeing and that you should want on your team. Then I have Dan Vlader of the Calgary Flames, and with Markstrom just not performing well, Vlader has been outperforming him just a little bit, so he has been seeing more starts lately. It happened earlier in the season where we saw more starts than Markstrom, but that kind of faded away and Markstrom ended up getting some more starts. But this time, Vlader, maybe he'll be able to hold on to that starting spot for a little while longer. I don't mind adding him in deeper leagues if you do really need a goalie. Then I have James Reimer of the San Jose Sharks, and he's still getting the majority of the starts in San Jose. Obviously, San Jose is not the best team in the world, but if you need a starting goalie, Reimer is definitely a decent option. Then Jake Allen, who's finally back from injury, had a decent outing against Detroit the other night, so that was pretty good. And I think that he's definitely going to get the majority of the starts going forward, despite Montembeault playing pretty well in his absence. Jake Allen is the guy in Montreal and should get the majority of the starts if you need a starting goalie. And then I have Peter Kochetkov here of the Carolina Hurricanes, and with Frederik Andersen going back down, they could end up calling him back up. And if they do, he's someone that definitely could see a lot of starts. We saw it earlier in the year where he was playing very well in Frederik Andersen's absence, and Raanta wasn't getting a whole lot of starts. So right now, I think they're going to start off by giving Raanta some starts, but Kochetkov could come in and steal the crease once again for sure. Then I have Peter Mrazek of the Chicago Blackhawks, and he seems to be getting at least 2/3 of the starts here in Chicago. It's nice to see. With Salek out with another concussion, he's probably going to be out a good while because he already had a concussion earlier this year, so they're going to be really careful with him. So Mrazek going forward is going to be a starting goalie, and if you're in a super deep league, especially a points league, and you need a starting goalie, Mrazek is actually a really good ad right now. And then finally, I have Colin Delia of the Vancouver Canucks, 2% rostered, and is outperforming Spencer Martin drastically right now. He's getting half the starts right now, but could see even more than that going forward. And that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and hit that subscribe button. And if you haven't already, check out my merch store, fantasytip.com. I'll catch you in the next episode of Fantasy Tip.